Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Mike Ralston, CEO of Blencowe Resources. Welcome back, Mike. How are you doing?
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, it's good to be here, and it's great to have good news to pass on to the market.
Indeed, yeah. So today we saw the announcement regarding Orom-Cross and the upgrade delivering a 50% increase to JORC resource tonnes, including a significant uplift in resource categorisation. Do you want to talk us through this news, please?
Yeah, it's obviously been a while in the making. We did this drilling program last year. We got all the assays done over the course of the last couple of months, and then we've sent it all off through to our technical consultants in South Africa who've delivered this upgrade to the JORC resource. As you said, it's a 50% increment. So we've gone from approximately 16 million tonnes as a JORC resource to 24.5 million tonnes, which represents a pretty significant and sizable increment. And that's obviously representing how much graphite sits there. I still underline that we've only drilled less than 1% of what's there at Orom-Cross. So it's a significant increment to the JORC, but as you say, most importantly for us, because this was an infill drilling program, was the recategorization of a significant amount of those tons from inferred to indicated and measured. And we've moved up, 350% to where we've got to now is a number where we can actually mine for about 15 years, maybe more. And that will obviously come through in the pre-feasibility study shortly.
So there's no further drilling required in terms of that. You've got that 15 years of mine life there.
Not at this stage. We will always be continuing to drill along the way as we head towards production. As per this announcement today, there's another 4 million tonnes sitting in the high-grade camp load that with a bit of further drilling we can add into the JORC resource. So there's always going to be strategic drilling that we do going forward if we want to take some low-hanging fruit and add it in. But for now, 15 to 20 years of mine life is enough. We've obviously got to get on and concentrate how we're going to bring that through into a feasibility study and then go forward into the pilot plant next year.
Okay, Mike, I think you need to be a bit more excited, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's very exciting news. We've taken a long time to get here. At the end of the day, we expected to get these sorts of results, but probably not as good as we got. So you're right. It's taken a while, and perhaps because of that, we haven't yet got sort of the full impact of it cruising through, but it's a huge, huge impact for the company, both in terms of our expectation, in terms of what we can deliver. And as a result of what we've got as measured and indicated now, we've got the means by which we can mine a whole lot of graphite for a long time. So it is incredibly exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it massively de-risks the project, especially now you've gone on to the measured basis in terms of people funding you and the whole situation going forward, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, just to be clear, you can't publish a pre-feasibility study without the tons you're using sitting in that measured or indicated resource categorization. So we had to move those from inferred, and we had no idea as to how much we could move. And obviously, if you only move a small amount, then your mine life isn't very long. So moving this quantum has been absolutely immense for us in terms of what we can deliver in that PFS as a life of mine, and is going to increase and improve the overall result for that feasibility study.
As you said, this is only 1%. So really, even stating that 15-year mine life, really this could be 150-year mine life, no, in terms of the potential of graphite in the long run. So yeah. How does the company feel about that? I mean, can you see that Blencowe Resources will continue this, because it's a huge resource, will continue all the way through production and or do you see somebody coming in and saying, here's a very large amount of money?
Look, I don't think you can ever start out hoping somebody's going to come along and take you out, because that would be a sort of a one-way path, and it doesn't really work, especially in terms of timing. What you really do is continue to build your asset, add value, and continue to show the market and strategic parties that value. And as it goes through the next phase and the next phase beyond that, and ultimately de-risks, and people can see exactly what you've got, then of course you start to stand out and look a lot sexier, I guess, in terms of what the parties can view. For us, we've always taken the view that we will ultimately mine this project ourselves, and that's where we're heading. But I'm absolutely certain that graphite is going to get its day in the sun the way that lithium has, and nickel is starting to. And we're going to start seeing a lot more importance from everyone in terms of how they view graphite. The prices are starting to rise. We're definitely going to see the impact of that in our PFS. And I don't know whether you guys are aware, but there was a big push from the United States government this week in terms of their support for renewable energy inputs, in terms of mining inputs of the lithiums, the nickels, the cobalts, and the graphites, and manganese as well. And this is starting to put graphite into the public eye. And we want to be a project that's not at an early exploration phase. We want to be up there, either near to production or in production, when the spotlight rests firmly on graphite, and people can see exactly what the quality of this Orom-Cross project looks like. So, Kevin, to go back to your question, we could mine and produce pretty much as much graphite as we want out of this project, but it's all about what the market can absorb. And that's why we've taken a view that we're going to step back and start with a smaller production quantum and ultimately ramp it up in a series of ramp-ups thereafter as we go through that first decade of production. And really, we'll be guided by what the market can absorb. If the market really cranks up and starts to take off like people are predicting, well, then we'll do the same thing. And it's all there. And it just takes a little bit more drilling to really push the numbers big. So we're going to be there, obviously able to drill and add more if we need to. But at the same time, we'll have a production plant ready and working so that we can obviously factor that in and build it rather than starting from scratch.
Looking at Blencowe in terms of looking ahead, a year from now, we're hoping that we're going to have some sort of revenue coming in from the graphite.
Yeah, look, I don't know whether it'll be a year from now. Certainly, we're talking about the middle of 2023, but sometime in that sort of roughly 12 to 18 months from now, we expect to have a pilot plant that will be producing graphite. We'll be processing it, mining it, processing it, and delivering it to the end users, and going through that certification process so that when we kick off with our main plant in 2025, we've got a whole bunch of end users as offtake partners that know our product, they've pre-qualified that product, and ultimately, if they like it as much as we think they like it, it's going to give us the opportunity to sell into the market and grow from there.
Yeah, and obviously somebody likes what you're doing, because RAB Capital have decided to take another big chunk of shares, and they're now going to be 10% shareholders. So how do you feel about that in terms of major investment house and really a mining specialist really in RAB Capital, thinking your project is worthy of that?
Yeah, that's hugely exciting for us to get the endorsement from a mining specialist fund like RAB, who actually have participated in pretty much all of our capital raisings so far to date from the beginning, but only in a small way. And now they're seeing that the project is de-risking, that it's more advanced, that the commercial outcomes are starting to look pretty good. They've made a big step forward in terms of moving to become a 10% stakeholder or shareholder in the business. And that's massive for us because we want that endorsement from the funds. It's the next step of maturity of both the project and the company. And to have their tick in the box to do this right now is just fantastic. So we welcome them, and it's great support. And that cash that they're going to be putting into the company just gives us the ability to go forward, not only on the Orom-Cross project in terms of the graphite feasibility study, but also to continue to do that first and second stage exploration work on the Akelikongo Nickel Project that we recently acquired and announced to the market.
So we haven't really touched much on the nickel project at all, have we now? I mean, looking at the timelines on that, it looks like there's a lot of news flow to come in terms of plan drill programs and targets and execute drill programs. Do you want to talk us through some of the news flow that shareholders can expect from the nickel project?
Yeah, look, I don't want to preempt the RNSs that are going to come out, but pretty shortly you'll be seeing something that puts a date on when that airborne EM work, electromagnetic work, is going to be underway. It's actually within the next month. So it's all lined up, it's paid for, and they're starting to mobilize and get ready to come and do the work. And what that means is that we're basically going to have aircraft flying lines over the various tenements that we're looking at. And what that does is it identifies drill targets. And if it lights up and there's plenty of good targets, that obviously gives us something to go and work on in terms of drilling. And then ultimately that creates more news flow in terms of what those drill results deliver. So yeah, in the background, I mean, it's definitely not our priority project. The graphite is our priority, but hanging in there behind it is an incredibly sexy and potentially huge nickel sulfide project. And it's right next door to Orom-Cross, relatively speaking anyway. And yeah, we're going to continue to do the work. And hopefully it comes through with some great results. And obviously we'll announce that to the market.
Just to put it in perspective, Mike, so people can get a grasp, when you do start producing at Orom-Cross, if I remember rightly from our previous interviews, you were talking about starting around 25,000 tons a year. Is that about right? Yeah,
that's the numbers that we're going to be using in the PFS. So we'll start at 25,000 tons of end concentrate. So that's the 96, 97% concentrate that we will sell to end users. We'll probably have four different products relative to the different mesh sizes. So a jumbo, a large, a medium, and a smaller fines product. And those will go into different end users. The medium and smaller stuff will be going into ultimately into anode manufacturing for the lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. And the larger coarse flakes will be going into specialist markets where you're getting very, very high prices at the moment. The prices at that end have gone bonkers. So there's plenty of demand, and that's obviously very good. But as we go forward and we can see what the market can absorb, then we're looking to increment that 25,000 tons up to 50,000. And then up to 75 and ultimately up to 100,000 tons before the end of the first 10 years. So, and we will be able to move that quicker if the market's ready for it. We've seen some numbers in previous presentations and previous chats where some of the analyst experts like Benchmark Minerals Intelligence are saying there's going to be a huge graphite shortfall by 2025 going forward to 2030. And if that's really the case and that happens as quickly as they predict, then we can move from 25 up towards 50, towards 100 a lot quicker. But we have to take a view of what we can sell into the market and what the market can absorb. We don't want to overcook it and find the prices start heading down because there's an oversupply. So we've just got to, and we'll just play it according to what the end users are looking for, and obviously into the relationships that we build.
And the range of prices in terms of the graphite at the minute are what? You know, at the lower end, how much is it per ton? And at the higher end of the graphite, the large flakes, how much are they going for at the minute? So
if people go and have a look at the presentation that we've lodged today, as well as a separate RNS, you'll see a particular slide that details the prices that we're expecting. But to answer your question, at the small fines end, it's about $750 per ton, expected to move up towards 1,000. And at the top end, on the jumbo, you're getting probably 2,500. The super jumbo, you're getting over $3,000 per ton. So the more of that you can sell, obviously impacts, because it just pulls up your overall weighted average price. But we've got a nice mix of about 35% being the jumbo and large, and 65% being the smaller and medium fine. So it's a good mix of end products that we've got to sell. And it definitely delivers a decent weighted average that gives us a pretty good overall operating margin.
So I suppose the question I broke, this money that's coming from RAB Capital is going to pay for most of the PFS, I think, from what we're saying and reading in the RNSs. So why?
Yeah, we've actually already got money for the PFS. We've got all the money we need for the PFS. Okay. We've got money now we need for all the early exploration work at the nickel. So yeah, we're obviously going to go forward and complete that PFS, and then we'll have a look and see what the definitive study stage looks like. And that's where we're going to be entering through to build the pilot plant as part of that DFS stage. But in terms of those numbers you've just mentioned, there's all the potential to be higher than that. If the prices continue to rise, then the margin obviously rises with it. And ultimately, we could find ourselves greater than that $500-600 per ton margin that we announced within the last PEA that we did last year. I think it's going to be noticeably higher than that when we come through with the PFS.
So what sort of figures do you think we can expect to see from the pilot plant?
The pilot plant is only going to produce 1,500 tons per annum. So it's purely to, I guess I've called it a dress rehearsal, where you get the pilot plant in place, all the infrastructure, the camp, the roads, the power, the communications, and we produce a much smaller amount. We get it pre-qualified over a period of time by the end users. But yeah, as we kick off the main plant from 2025, we'll be looking to make some very decent returns from that, and ultimately doubling that production rate quite soon thereafter, and going forward, doubling it again. So I don't know where the disconnect is in terms of the market cap. I think, to me, there has to be a point where the market understands the de-risking, it understands the maturity has been achieved. And I think that penny is going to drop pretty soon. And having somebody like RAB Capital coming on board helps, because they're obviously very sophisticated and intelligent investors, and they've done due diligence and understand what the project and what the commercial outcomes look like. So we're getting there. All of these key milestones, this one being obviously the JORC update being a key milestone, they all help, and they all just build the story, and they give us more credibility.
There was a bit I saw today, just looking through today's RNS, that will go down well with the kind of green and ESG crew, and that was looking at the options to deliver green graphite products via a project that will utilize renewable energy. Do you want to just talk through a little bit about that as well, Mike, please?
Yeah, I think everybody who's producing anything that goes into a battery, lithium, cobalt, nickel, etc., graphite, tends to say, right, we're all in this renewable energy space, therefore our ESG credentials are high. Well, that's great, because part of that end product will be sold into that market. But actually, to get real ESG credentials, we need to be also producing our own project with very sustainable impact. And, we want to take the ESG to the next level. We've engaged with leading environmental firm ERM to do a full audit of our project to recommend by which we can actually make it more sustainable. And ultimately, we'll be coming through with a report that gets presented to the market, which hopefully underlines that Orom-Cross will be a very, very green project. We've got hydroelectric power, for example. So the energy that we'll be using to power our plant and our site will come from a combination of hydroelectric and solar.
Is that the Isimba? Is that the Isimba?
Yeah, that's Isimba. Yeah. So we'll be talking about electric drying of the end product as well. So we're looking at all different angles, and it's actually not just environment; it's social as well. We've done a lot of work within the local community to ensure that they come along for the ride and the journey with us, and ultimately we'll be employing people in the local community as well. But things we've done so far, we've got education funds going. We've been helping them to provide equipment into their farming communities, etc. So we're trying to play a role that goes beyond the norm in terms of ESG. And we think that ultimately that's not only the right thing to do, but it will resonate with a lot of the funds that are looking to build relationships into companies, into projects that are very green and very renewable focused. And so we've got a good chance there, because it's got a lot of attributes already, and we're going to be adding more to that along the way.
Well, we're certainly impressed with today's news, and we look forward to the strong news flow going forward, and wish you all the best with the company.
Thank you. There's plenty of news flow. Obviously, with 2 projects now, there's multiple news channels that we're coming through on different work programs, but we've got a lot going on. We're continuing to work hard. We're going to be back in country next week, which is great, because with COVID, we haven't been able to get back there too recently. So that's also good. And we'll be underlining the support that we're getting from the government by meeting up with very senior people, and obviously wanting to ensure that we can continue the momentum that we've got towards that pilot plant next year. So yeah, keep watching. There's going to be a lot of continued news flow going forward.
Mike Ralston, CEO of Blencowe Resources, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, gents. Thank you very much.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.